Welcome to your Saturday edition of CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jersey Mike's. And then there were 8. The Hoop Gods coming through with some late March madness yesterday as we welcome you into our CBS Sports HQ studios. I'm Haley Sutton. I'm going to be joined by some basketball sickos, as my good friend Mike O'Donnell would say in just a minute. But first, let's give you a look at our 2025 Elite 8. For the first time since 2016, we get 4 1 seeds in the Elite 8. Getting ahead of myself here, but just something to think about here in a bit. The last time all 4 1 seeds advanced to the Final Four, by the way, was in 2008. And guess where that portion of the tournament was held? In San Antonio. So some history potentially we're looking at there. All of these teams looking to make it to San Antonio, which is our good friend Charles Barkley's favorite town, by the way. So that's kind of a look at what we're looking at today. The Elite 8 games underway in just a bit. Let's talk about it as we welcome in our all-star team of BJ, Taylor, and Kyle Boone. Guys, there's so much exciting basketball to watch today, but I want to get started with Texas Tech and Florida. 2 teams that kind of got here in different ways. We know the Red Raiders had to come from a 16-point deficit to win this one. The Florida Gators, meanwhile, flexing their depth. Kyle, I'll come to you first here. When you look at this matchup, just Texas Tech versus Florida, what jumped out to you initially?
The depth of Florida is what jumps out. Florida has, 6.5, 7 starters, guys who I think would make meaningful contributions for other teams that are still in the NCAA tournament. The way that Florida can win is by overwhelming you, and they have multiple paths to winning, right? They have a top 10 offense, they have a top 10 defense, and oh, by the way, they're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in college basketball, as we saw in the Sweet 16 against Maryland. So the path for Florida, I think, is very wide open. Texas Tech, very good on offense. They've played at a really high level, still missing Chance McMillan, and their defense has been good too. So I think they could give them a push, but Florida has been able to overwhelm teams throughout the course of games.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything that Kyle said. Florida has multiple ways for winning games. I mean, we've seen them win where Walter Clayton Jr. was the star. He leads the day. We've also seen Elijah Martin, Will Richard had a good game last game. But Florida's bench. All right, Thomas Howe and Denzel Aberdeen combined for 25 points in their win against Maryland, one of the better teams coming out of the Big Ten, and Florida really just took them apart. All right, it wasn't much of a game there in the second half. Florida had their way, got what they want. The fact that Florida can get that kind of bench production is scary. The fact that they have an Alex Condon, one of the better big men in the country, 4 points last game. They didn't even play well. They get a 16-point win in the Sweet 16, right? Florida is really the UConn of last year, with the fact that they can win by a low-scoring game, they can win a high-scoring game, they can play the high tempo, they can play the slow tempo, they have an elite guard who can take you there, they have a bench, they're all around great. Now, if you're Texas Tech, you got to produce extra opportunities, all right? 22 all boards in their win against the Arkansas Razorbacks. They attempted 18 more shots than the Razorbacks in that game, about 83 shot attempts. That's an NBA number, right? You don't get that a lot in college. So if you are the Texas Tech Red Raiders and you want a chance, Grant McCaslin, to pull off the upset today, you're going to have to make sure that shot differential is about a +10, because that's your only chance to knock off the Gators.
Florida making their 8th Elite 8 appearance. That is the most, tied for the most, I should say, over the last 20 years. They kind of give me like Duke last year vibes with all the dancing and the TikToks with Jared McCain. I'm feeling the Gators right now. That one gets underway at 6:09 Eastern from San Francisco.